Hey, there's my man.
Oh, she has
How you doing, bud? Yeah.
Went through all my hats.
Good. Okay. There's more in the pickup.
Look at you.
I like yours.
Man, where's your mom?
Really good.
Right here. Right behind you.
Yeah, yeah.
What?
So much cheaper too. To buy like raw beans. Actually, those were given to me, so sometimes you can just get away with it. Yeah.
We have where
Oh, yeah.
you know where part of the building and the rest of the entire building.
Danae and Sierra, go over there and let me get a picture of you with your mom.
Yeah.
And I did that a lot.
I had it done.
To Auntie Emily.
Hasn't,
Okay?
Nancy.
Sierra, you have to smile too.
Hey.
It's better to take more than one and then you have a I know.
Oh, they did make it. All right.
It worked.
That's good.
Honey, do you have your phone? Just go like this. Take a picture of Bub. Look at Uncle
Look
Tom.
here. Uncle
Smile.
Roy.
Uncle Roy.
Cousin Roy.
Uncle Roy. Oh, I keep on calling Uncle Tom. Two Uncle Toms.
Oh.
Looks like
Yeah.
this way. We're sitting
You want to hold this? This is great from.
We like the way that when you sit, watch now when Cook Wait till I sit down, everybody will pop up. Just don't tear it, Bill.
I hope not.
Well, wouldn't that be something if we all five sat on the They say it just pushes everybody up whenever somebody sits down. Did you see it?
Nice thing, every once in a while I come out here and
I'm the
kind of
heaviest.
look at grandpa's. I used to bring mom out here quite a bit right now. I told Charlotte when we were coming up here, I was going to park up in here, and I said, oh, I got to leave a room when they bring grandma so she won't have to walk so far. And things like that keep going through my mind all the time, you know. You keep thinking, oh, I got to stop by and see grandma. I do that with Charlotte's mom too, and I think every time I go down the road where she was last at, I think, oh, I got to stop and play her some music. And so it's really, it's amazing, and a lot of that, and that's good because those things linger in our hearts and in our minds, and they're good stuff, you know. Mom would have loved it. I'm sure she's looking down and loving to see everybody here and everybody all dressed up and remembering her and all the hats on. I mean, she's got to be just, she's got to be tickled pink, you know. And it's one thing she always loved, I guess. And I didn't even know she left me a music skill, you know, when she had my little body until later on in my life. But one of the greatest things I ever did was be able to go sing songs for her. And she loved that just tremendously all of her life. And what a wonderful woman, what a wonderful legacy she left for all of us guys. I mean, you know, like I was telling Aiden, you know, every time you do something right, every time you treat somebody fair, you're going to remember Grandma, because that's what she put in you. And she put that in all of us, to do the right thing and to be the right kind of person, and it'll all work out. It didn't work out easy for her, I'll tell you that. But it worked out. You know, and she knows where she is. She knows when she's to the Lord. She loved one song I didn't plan on singing. I just threw my guitar in at the last minute out here today, but I went and played for her a number of times before while she was in her bed. And one song that she picked out, and she always said that was her song. And so I've always had this as Mom's song, and I thought no more appropriate than to sing it out here at the last time to be with Mom before they bury her. And you know, it's a song I found years ago, and it's "Where Will You Be a Million Years From Now?" And we all know where Mom will be a million years from now. The same place we're going to be a million years from now. We'll be in heaven, rejoice in God. You know, because this day is like 1,000 years to the Lord. So, you know, it's wonderful as you look around and see all the hills and the mountains and everything. And there's no doubt in my mind that we've got a Creator, and He created you and I, and He created Mom, you know, and and she passed that on down to us. And I just love her, and I praise her, you know, to the Lord for what she was. But just kind of sing. You sing along with me. You probably always heard this song for years. So, you know, you're probably, oh no, not that song again. Where will you be a million years from now? Will you be happy? Will you be saved? While ages roll down through eternity, I ask this question, where will you be? In the Bible we are told of a day that soon will come, when the people of this earth will be gathered at God's throne. When we stand before His throne, there for all the world to see, will He say, well done? Yes, He will. Where will you be? Where will you be a million years from now? Will you be happy? Will you be saved? While ages roll down through eternity, I ask this question, where will you be? What is the second verse of that? I forgot. Got thinking of it.
You don't have your book.
Oh yeah. Just one life to live on earth, and it swiftly passes by. From the moment of our birth till the time has come to die, God has given us this choice to decide our destiny in a billion years. Where will you be? Where will you be a million years from now? Will you be happy? Will you be saved? While ages roll down through eternity, I ask this question, where will you be? Knew that note was in there somewhere. I'll tell you, Mom always loved that song, and I know where she is. To be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. You know, and I just, she instilled that in us, and I just thank and praise her that she was strong, and her commitment was strong, and she made us a strong unit. You know, with all of, and I was kind of thinking after Mom went home to be with the Lord, you know, that's our top of our pyramid link, and so it kind of separates us all. You know, these kids have got to worry about one person, and these kids have got to worry about another person now, but we don't have that common person. But we can't stop loving each other and caring about each other. That's the truth.
Yes.
We've got to maintain this unity of body and spirit together as a family. And that's what she held us together. So let's always remember, you know, to stay in touch with each other, to lift each other up, encourage each other, and be there for each other.
And forgive each other.
And forgive each other. That's right. Yeah, because the bottom line is, someday, you know, if you accept Jesus Christ as your Savior, you're going to spend eternity with Grandma. And that's the way it's going to be. And that's all I got to say about that. Does any of you, the rest of you, like to say something here?
Well, I do. That just kind of brought it to my mind. When Buddy said that it was so important for all of us to Vegas. Well, Mother, I was talking to her on the phone, and she said, well, I've just made up my mind that I'm going to have Annie and Evelyn over for lunch every week because it's really important that they stay connected. And I just thought, well, that's Mother. She's got a plan. She's going to execute it. She's going to get this thing done. And I think that plan worked. The girls are closer together, and it's so easy to grow apart when we grow older and we have our next family and get involved in everything. We forget all those cousins. Then I got a call from Delner Poss the other day, and he says, oh my gosh, now I'm the old one in the Ballard family. My mama, Aunt Hill, was gone. So even far, far away, Mother has touched so many lives that we don't even comprehend or know about. People are rejoicing that she's in heaven. They're hanging on to the precious memories. But we've each one got our own little remembrances of Mother, but Mother reached out a lot further than she did than we could ever know.
I don't know if you realize this, but you know, it's just kind of amazing when you stop and think about it. Dad was really sick at one time. One time he was in a wheelchair and was almost going to lose his legs. And then Mom worked herself. She should have worked herself to death a long time ago, you know, with all the hard work she did raising her up. And yet, out of both of their families, we had them longer than anybody else, than any of our siblings. In any families, God left them in our family the longest of all of them. And they were supposed to be the first, some of the first ones to go. But God was good to us that way because they loved him so much, and he just left them here to keep teaching and teaching and teaching. I mean, isn't that great? I mean, he left them here longer than anybody else. When everybody else's parents were gone, we all still had our great and our grandparents.
Buddy, I was just thinking, you know, when God sees a need, I'll let that soak in for a minute. When he looked around and saw you kids, he knew you needed Mom and Dad.
Right.
So maybe that's it. Okay?
That's right. That's right.
I got it.
Yep.
They never grew up.
That's
And
exact-
that's true because now we dates on the other side, on Daddy's side of the family. When we were visiting these last few years, Bob and I have been able to visit a lot with Deli. And I thought, I had no idea Mother and Daddy had such an influence on him.
Yep.
And,
The
you
book
know,
he wrote.
yeah. And it just, the stories they told me were so much fun because
Before you came along.
before I came along, but the fact that his parents had some problems and Mom and Dad were the stability.
In all of
It's
them,
just
you know, in the Ballard family, too. They didn't raise just us kids. You know, they had some other kids there for a couple of years while some of the sisters and things were getting their act together. So and getting themselves together. So you know, and all those people remember that because you know what would they have done without Mom and Dad there to move in and then to take care of them for a while. So it's a wonderful thing, you know. Family is good, and that's one thing Mom tried to instill in all of us was family, and so love each other, forgive each other, care about each other. You know, I mean, it's wonderful, and I just love you all for loving me, and I know that you love me for loving you, and so that's what it's all about. It's all about these guys here. Yeah, all these little guys.
So this morning, we have a huge piece of our family that are hula dancing in Hawaii, which we are so excited and happy about because our darling Levi is going to get married over there in a couple days, and they're all together rejoicing and seeing the sights, and so in our hearts they're here too, and we never forget that, and hopefully there'll be time this summer at some time to share all our feelings and the video with them and everything. But that is so wonderful to know because as our life goes on, we have to all pick up and move on with our life, which whenever we think, gee, I wish I could ask Grandma how to fix this. I wish I could ask Grandma how to can this, how to freeze this, how to cut this up, how to fillet this, how long should I fry it?
Or what that bean recipe was for
What
like
that
the
bean
100th time.
Cornbread.
Every time that happens, we'll go, darn it.
When do I trim my roses?
When do I trim my roses?
Yes.
We'll all have that little piece, but we all have some knowledge that Grandma has passed us. And,
To sit down and mass.
and so that's when the real thing comes, is as we pick up our lives and we move on. And we have our joys and we have our sorrows and we have our trips, we have our gatherings. But like Uncle Bud said, let's remember to get together. Let's try to consciously and purposefully plan campouts. Who can come, and who can't come, but try to do that to make it happen. To make this so our circle isn't broken. So that's what we want to do. Think of each other and care. So we need to let this old tired body go. We know she's gone. But we're gonna let her go. We're gonna learn how to live without her. That's what we're gonna do. And that's what she wants us to do. I'll have to walk that road someday.
Well, I'm the matriarch of the family now, and I'll do my best to set a good example and love all of you just like Grandma did. And be there for you if you want to know how to do something. I love you all. Roy thought that he was the oldest, but he forgot. He was so relieved.
He's the smartest.
He's the oldest.
I hate to clue you in, but the smartest is probably in
I told him I hope he's not for a long time yet.
Thank you, Brenda. I needed
I
that.
have a few stories, which I won't tell right now, which might recruit that statement right there. Dispute and repute.
Yes, sir.
Oh.
I was just gonna say too that I don't think I can. Okay. I just wanted to say that it was such a joy and a privilege to be able to keep in touch. Every little thing. Donna and Cookie would just text it out about Grandma, and when the others of us were privileged to be able to be with her and to share all of that with Jeff and Sheila and Michael and Colleen and their babies and Brooks and Brittany and
Corey
Susan's family and Corey and there's so many, and all of the family in Texas, and hearing about even little Aubrey, how much our mother meant to her, and in memory of her mother, Aunt Doodle and Aunt Wessie and Aunt Clem and Uncle Harry, they are still here helping me get through times that if I wouldn't have had them in my life. So, we are connected in heart, and like Buddy said, we need to stay connected. And we all do our own individual part, just like the body of Christ. We're not all in one place at one time, but we're all together.
Yes.
So true.
And they all want to be here,
Yes, they do.
but they can't.
Yeah, I know Corey wanted to come too. But
Jeff and Michael sent a text this morning. Said he loves everybody. He wishes he was here.
somebody else want to say something?
I thought Glenn was going to.
Yeah, well, he's going to say something at the service. So you will have time to speak too at the service if you think of something you want to say. They're going to give you some time to share experiences and thoughts.
I'll share something here because I know I wanted the service. But
Okay.
two things. One of the things I just I hope to take from Grandma is she truly unconditionally loved everybody. And when you're older in older generations, you become more judgmental and opinionated and sometimes meaner and harsher, and I never saw it.
No,
And
never.
so I just know that you can get older and love people more and more and more. And she never ever, in our mistakes, made us feel like we were any less loved or any less valued or any less important. And then the other thing was, which Jade was in the room one time with Grandma when we were laughing about this, but I've always told Grandma that I know I'm her favorite. And
We all.
yeah. But my kids do the same thing, and they're another generation. And Kayla really feels like she was Pappy's princess, and that, Grandma loves her the best, even though we all know. But it was really cool because one of the ministers I worked for had said that it's like John, who knew he was the beloved. It was more an honor to Jesus, because Jesus could make everybody feel like they were the beloved special one. That was Grandma.
That's it. Whoever
She
was with
really
her at
did
the
make
time.
everybody feel like they were the most important. And I just love those traits of her.
Amen.
And they never changed, ever.
Never changed, not till the
Till
last
the day,
breath.
sure.
No,
The person that was with her.
because I said to her one day when I was sitting with her, I was giving her, water, and I said, do you have any idea how much I love you? We couldn't understand too much what she would say, but just clear as a bell, she said, to the moon and back. I said, yeah, to the moon and back and back and back, a million times back and forth. She said, shook her head, yes. And then another time I said, Mama, I love you. And she said, I love you. And I said, do you know who's out here? She said, Donna. I said, yes, it's Donna. I said, matter of fact, I absolutely adore you, which is something I said to her a lot through the years. I adore you. You're my hero. I want to be like you. She said, she shook her head, yes. I said, and I'm so sorry. Cookie was in there. I said, I'm so sorry the times I was a brat. Yeah, she said, we all are sometimes. So you're right. So instead of getting more judgmental, really, she got less.
Yeah, she did.
And she accepted our stupidities and said, you'll get better. We'll get through this.
I've written Mother and Daddy 2 or 3 letters apologizing for being a brat and leaving them beside their bed. Sometimes I was just really a stinker.
Really?
But I did apologize, and that made me feel better.
I did. It was wonderful that she was able to utter the last words, though, that were, out of all my 5 children, buddy, I still love you the most. And I knew that,
But she told me that she had loved me the longest.
Can I say something about I found it a beautiful tribute. Iris was talking with Donovan this week, and Donovan said, as he looked at his great grandma and saw how wonderful she was, that he could now see what his mama was like she was, and how his mom was like she was, and that's who he wants to marry, someone like that.
That's it.
And that's just a tribute that says, you know what, my great grandma was so awesome, that's all I'm going to settle for. And that's what you want for a wife or a husband or whatever it is. That's beautiful. That's just great.
Well, the other thing that she was so patient about, we were laughing before the stroke. We were talking about if Eveloy came to, because we were talking about wanting to go to Brookings, and I wanted her to go with us and get a motel room, so, because she's having a hard time getting in and out of the motorhome. And she said, well, I said, well, who would you like to come and stay with you if you're just going to refuse to go? And she says, well, it doesn't matter which one comes to stay with me. Everybody's different, but it all works out. So, okay. That sounds, everybody's different, but it all works out. I thought it just showed her adaptability because of how we ministered or how we tried to take
Our
care
relationship with her.
Yeah, relationship. It doesn't matter. You all love me. It'll work out. It's gonna work out. Okay. Make it work out.
When I think of Grandma, I just think of food.
Burnt scraped toast.
That's right.
Anytime you walk through the door, she always asks you if you were hungry. It didn't matter what time of day it
And how
was.
did she always have that much food?
I don't know how she had that much food. But
How did she
Little dabs of everything.
Yes.
and she knew what we liked the best because,
to more and more.
you know, I like the toast and I like the, you know, she knows I like toast best, but she just knew. And we always had to have biscuits and gravy. I mean, that was just something that and Grandma just knew how to make that gravy. I don't know how. Grandma's gravy tasted, Cindy and, well, she's not even here to hear this. She tried, but it doesn't taste like, it doesn't taste like Grandma's.
You
I
can
can't-
use the same recipe.
Yeah, you can do the same stuff that she did, and it doesn't taste like Grandma's.
Chicken and dumplings.
Uh-huh.
Don't even try to make them for me.
The last pan of cornbread I made.
And cornbread, yes.
She stood there telling me as I'm mixing it all together, got it in the oven, cooked it, brought it out, and I sliced it. It was like, Mom, we missed something. We threw that pan away, and then she
Did it?
did it,
Yeah.
and it
was
turned out
fine.
Everything except for that one cake she made.
Salt?
No.
Oh, it's salt instead of sugar? Oh.
No, no, no.
Oh, okay.
Everything Grandma made tasted better, and I could never figure out why. Like, even the simplest things tasted good at Grandma's house, but there was one cake that was questionable.
Yeah. And she made it a lot? Oh, yeah, a certain one.
She, well, in trying to get rid of the sugar and stuff, sometimes there were some things that weren't as, you know, they were experimental.
Yes.
But what about the lemon pie without
The
the
lemon
sugar?
pie, yes, that was bad.
That was quite a shock to the system.
Yeah.
It was very pretty though.
I wanted to say something about what Christy said. I feel like I've been thinking a lot lately, maybe the last year or something, but about sanctification, and I find the concept of sanctification really comforting when we feel messed up, you know, to know that God's not done with us, and that we're daily being changed into the image of Christ if we're His. And so we don't have to worry that He's going to leave us this way, you know, when we feel not even close to done. That He is working on us, and we can cooperate and make it go better. But either way, He's working on us if we're His. And to me, I feel like Grandma wasn't just an example of not having become more bitter, but in fact, she got sweeter as she got older. And I can think of really specific things that I've seen the Lord change in her heart over the last 10 years. And saw her continue to read her Bible. And in fact, more than I ever saw her actually read her Bible when I was young. And she's a living example to me of how if you submit your life to the Lord, He continues to make you look more like Him as you get older, and it shouldn't surprise us that it was time for her to go because she was getting awfully close. Looking like him. And that's comforting to me because when I feel like there's just an awful long way to go, to be the woman that I want to be and that I feel like the Lord wants me to be, I can look to Grandma and see that He worked on her and He's going to work on me too. And I love that about her, and I've used her as an example when I've talked to other people about how the Lord, I could see the Lord changing her.
Transforming her into the image of Jesus.
It's amazing, like Annie said, as you get older, you never stop learning when you're starting to read God's Word, and it's always exciting to me. I've been reading it a lot, and I taught Sunday school class a lot, but still, every time I read it, it just amazes me because God gives you a little bit more. You can read the same thing, and all of a sudden you go, wow, I didn't realize that. And Dad called me one time, and he said, I got some questions. He said, and this was probably, maybe 15 years ago, and I thought he had read all that, and I said, well, I'll be over. So he came over, and he said, I was reading here in this Bible, he said, where this king took, and he invited all these people to his son's wedding. And these people wouldn't come. Nobody came. And so he went out and he invited these like beggars and these poor people and everything. He just brought them. He said, don't you think? I just think that was kind of degrading his son. He said, here you got all these poor people. You got these beggars. You got everybody else, drunks and stuff, and you're inviting them to your son's wedding, and you're the king. I mean, that's more dishonoring. It looks to me like than if he just wouldn't invite anybody at all. And I said, really?
They should have all been perfect.
And I said, so when Jesus came, all the elite and everybody that knew everything and all the higher-ups didn't come. Who was it that came? And who was it that accepted Jesus Christ? It was all the needy and all the poor. And I said, you just looked at a picture of Jesus Christ coming to earth. And exactly, that was a picture of what it's going to look like when Jesus comes, and all these people, all the needy and they're going to be the ones that are going to gravitate to Jesus Christ, not the learned, because they're a little bit too smart for that. And he goes, wow, that's all right. Now I get it. But I thought, that always amazed me. When I go back and I read any of that scripture, that always amazed me. They had been in church all these years and didn't see that, but God had not seen it fit to give him that explanation up to that time, and so it's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. Grandma, she loved the Word, I had a few years ago, or so I hit on Psalms 19, and it's one thing that has just changed. Because I always worried about people in Africa, that says Psalms 19 is the heavens declare the glory of God, the firmament shows His handiwork. Day unto day utter His speech, and night into night reveals knowledge. There is no speech or language across the earth where His voice is not heard, and His line goes out throughout the earth to the ends of the world. And that goes on about, but isn't that amazing? When you look out, and I always wondered, how do these people know? They know. You see all people all over the world, and they're trying to worship someone, but they can't, but they don't know who it is, but they know there's a God, and they know there's someone to worship. It's kind of like the eunuch was in the Bible when he was he was on the road, and he asked, who it? And he said, ha! Or in the Bible when you read about they worship the unknown God, what had happened? People went and said, oh, I know who he is! I can tell you about him. So it's wonderful, isn't it? It's a wonderful thing. You can't look out and see the earth and see all the development, see the flowers generating after themselves, and not know Jesus Christ. That's your Savior. You can't do it. You might deny it, but every knee, it says in the Bible that every knee will bow and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. Maybe when you don't want it to happen, but believe me, brothers and sisters, it's going to happen.
So, may I say something? I think just like all of humanity through time, cries out for a God. I think we're wired to need each other, and we all cry out to be connected. And I didn't have my dad left when I was a kid. My adult life has been a story of trying to reconcile that loss. When I look at your family, I realize this is the way it was supposed to be. Divorce, death, decay, and sickness, and disease, and anything that fractures and breaks things apart is a consequence of walking outside the garden. And I look at this family and it gives me hope. I look at Pap and Grandma and the way your family has inherited a genetic code of love and forgiveness. I'm a recipient of that many times. And I know I see Grandma in Christine's eyes. And I do see it passing into my children. So for someone who doesn't have a close family, this family has been quite literally a godsend. And so I just want to encourage you guys, because Pap and Grandma were a connecting force, that our love for God can power us through family challenges. I was thinking this morning in the shower, of all places, so where's everybody going to meet now? Like, where's that place? And I just know you'll figure it out. Because you love for each other. And I just wanted to say to Pap and Grandma, of course, and to all of you guys, we honor their memory by the way we love each other. And in our American culture, we've kind of lost the beauty of honoring people. And really, if for nothing else, you guys couldn't, we wouldn't have been kept away from this. Because I know what we're going to do is take this back and pass it on to our children. And so I think we honor them by men, the way we love our wives, and serve them, and edify them. I don't want anything to come between passing on the legacy of faith and faithfulness to our children. And I really do genuinely, for the last 20-something years, I thank you guys as a person who's from the outside been, as with the body of Christ, grafted into this body, this family, and felt like an insider the whole time. I've never felt like an outsider.
Stephen, when I grew up and went away to the exciting world, not the, weeds and gardens and keeping everything so-so, and it's like, those people are really living out there. And when I got out there, I thought, this is pretty messed up. This is pretty messed up. I want to go home. I was very naive. I thought the rest of the world had families like I had. It was quite a shock to realize they don't. It's better at home.
When I was in junior high, I had some kids that had their first car, and of course I had my first car when I was 13. So, but it was no junk and I couldn't drive it on the road, but I had probably 13 or 14 cars by the time I was old enough to drive a car. But, we were moved out in Dark Hollow, and we lived in the garage because we didn't have our house built yet. We were trying to just save up and steal enough lumber everywhere we could, to to build the rest of the house. Not steal it, but I mean, out at the mill, we would get all the old lumber that was left off of going to the burner, and we'd trim that up and use that to build our house with. And so we lived in it, and we had tar paper on the walls, you know, and stuff. And so some guys I met, finally some guys asked me to ride in their car, and they were from the east side, and they had lots of money, and they had cars. They had a really nice car. And so they said, well, we're just driving around. It's got time. We'll just drop you off at your house. And I said, no, actually, I can't. I was supposed to meet my dad downtown, which was a lie. But could you just drop me off to Big Y, because he's supposed to pick me up there. So they dropped me off down to Big Y, and I walked all the way to Dark Hollow because I didn't want them to see where I lived. And later on, I grew up in my life, I realized, I was so crazy. Those guys, one of them went to prison. One of them died from an overdose of drugs later in his life. And I had all these kids, and all the people, my sisters had all these friends. And if you would ask any of these friends, we don't have a party at your house, they'd say, no, we don't go to my house. I don't want to have it at my house. They always had it at our house. I mean, we had a great big slab out there with no house on it, but that's where we had to dance. You know, that was there, and everybody wanted to come to our house and have their celebration, because our folks were like, they were part of the teenagers, you know. I mean, they were in charge, but they were like part of the kids, you know. And so it's a wonderful heritage to grow up under that. You know, everybody always liked to go and be around our parents. So.
And the other side of that is too, we all are talking about how godlike I think Dad and Mom were, but I know in my generation over in Brookings, Oregon, how many of my friends came before my dad as the municipal judge, and he set them straight and had them washing out the cells and doing all kinds of stuff. Mother and Daddy were two of the toughest people.
Yeah. They were.
Yeah.
I knew, because they didn't put up with anything, and I don't know about the rest of you, but I knew they weren't going to put up with anything. And so, really helped me walk the line.
I've seen this little woman. You think she was all mild and mellow and everything all of her life? I saw someone attack one of her children one day.
Yep.
I thought she was going to eat them alive, and she would. Yeah.
Because of you.
Yeah. So she was. I mean, she might have been a little, but boy, you didn't want to cross her, because.
There's lots of times I'll just be in the kitchen and I'll just stand there and say, I just feel like Grandma right now, because I've got some kind of thing going, or I don't know, or I don't know. It could just be the apron I'm wearing, or the flour that I'm working in, or if I go out to the garden and I'm in the dirt. It's a really neat feeling to kind of feel like her once in a while, and that she's put this thing in all of us women especially, that we really like being moms. We really like being homemakers, and we really are thankful that we have kids and have this. I mean, that's a gift, to be so excited just to love living life in family. Some people don't like that. It's weird, but it's such a gift to just have this thing inside of us, and I know it came from their heritage and example, and it's passed down, and then it's grown as we were little and we're with our aunts and uncles, and then it's grown as we've it's just an amazing, beautiful thing, and I'm really thankful for Grandma, and just
sometimes when I'm playing my guitar as I get older, it's just amazing, because I'll be playing along and all of a sudden I'll sing something that sounds just like my dad, and I want to stop and listen for a minute.
That's so cute.
But I hear it. I hear his voice just come out of my mouth. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
And I sing it like he would have said it. You know, it's just especially old Shep.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Sit around, you know,
and yodel.
So yeah, it's amazing. Amazing.
Another thing that talked about what Roy was saying is how Mom taught me, to open up my house to my children and to my grandchildren. And when I came out here to visit with them before I went overseas, Jeff moved out with some friends while I was here. And just broke my heart. My baby's gone. I have no children anymore. And I went in and just threw myself in Pappy's lap. My head just sobbed. He's gone. He's moved out. And he just sat there and just kept patting me and loving me. And I looked up at him like that, and he said, "But they always come back home, don't they?" Here you are.
Here you are.
Here you are. It was just such a comfort to me. I always think about that.
Yeah.
You know, about Dad. I knew I was welcome home.
Just stand in the sunshine. I'm getting cold.
It is getting cold.
There's a wind came up.
Yes, I think it's nice and what you said. In this day and age, it's not very popular to say, well, I'm just a homemaker.
We did it. We got you.
Whatever else you
No, it's
do
on.
after that.
Say you should take a picture of his kids running down in the field.
Grandma made that.
Look at them over there. There's the boys.
Don't just sit back and enjoy it anymore. And now it's like
And there's the girls. Well, the ones playing with the flowers.
Okay, everybody, sit down. Tell
We were pallbearers, but we didn't have to do that this time of night.
Most of you probably remember that locally.
They must have had it set
She
up.
hauled up her car with her paintings all by herself and drove the little grandma away down to the Griffin Creek Grange and did that art show. Did you guys go to that?
I wasn't
went.
able to.
And she placed her, didn't we go, Mom?
Yeah.
And then she
I knew we
stayed the
did
whole
that.
day. It was just a tiny
Yeah.
little thing. Some
Yeah.
ladies had some quilts, and she had all of her paintings. But she was like 92. It
Yeah.
wasn't that long ago. It was like,
Yeah,
because I remember thinking,
She
wow,
wanted to show her paintings, and
I
she
mean,
just did
I
it.
always say that, wow, she's amazing. But she just did it all by herself. And, you know, the work that went into that, she was just so proud to display all her little paintings. And they had like food and stuff. And so we drove down there. And she was going to stay, and she had her little car parked there. And when it was over, she loaded up all the paintings and took them back home. And the other weird thing was yesterday I was in Weimar, and I just could not stop crying because for some reason Weimar reminds me of Grandma.
Yeah.
I've seen her there and at Thunderbird, and I just kept like seeing elderly people, and it was just the strangest thing. And then I heard him say something about lady was talking to the pharmacist about a senior discount. And so all through Weimar. The lady I'm checking out, how's your day? Okay. Get me out of here. But it's just funny. We'll just always have those little reminders.
Yeah, she liked the Lucky Number Tuesday. She liked to go check her number and see if she won something. Yeah.
Well, the other thing about Weimar too is I've told this to my kids and stuff is years ago when she was driving the brown Cadillac, picture little grandma behind the brown Cadillac. I was going into Weimar and I heard this wailing on the horn and honking. And I turned and looked, and it was Grandma. Like, people were honking at her. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Grandma. She wasn't turning in. I think she had been leaving, and I probably cut somebody off or something. And it was just like wailing on the horn. And there's that brown Cadillac, and there's Grandma. She can't even see the steering wheel. It was so big, and I kept thinking, why is she driving that big old car? Someone needs to get her a little car. And I was her favorite.
Had to get that in
Always
there.
right. It's like I do feel like I have, you know, we kind of all have a lot in common with Grandma. I love gardening and art and not cooking so much, but just, you know, those special little things like sewing. So it's like we could do something with this.
We had several creative nights at church where people could, the Wednesday night kids did art, and so they opened it to everybody. And Mother always took things down to display it for us too, and I thought that was really, and I would say, Mom, you know, you need to do this. You know, it's in the bulletin. time you can, oh, I don't know. But then I see her looking around the wall like, what will I take? Yeah. I have to share that with people.
Well, she just always had a project, and I think about that as I get older, just how motivated and driven that she was to just occupy her time and entertain herself.
That's the thing. I've got a half-finished, she was still crocheting baby blankets.
Yeah.
I've got one about that much.
I just thought, I hope that I can be like that and not just be bored and resentful of my elderly time. I just want to be like her.
Yeah.
Let's get together and have a craft night.
You know, when I was about 16, I was going to be a rock star, and we had a concert coming up, and I needed a special shirt that I wanted that was, I don't know, like some other artist somewhere, and I couldn't find one to buy anywhere, so I bought the material, and I went over to her house, and she helped me sew it. And it actually taught me how to sew. Yeah.
She's done that for a lot of us.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of us.
When I built my car, my 51 Ford, and I built all that thing and had the electric doors on it and the whole thing, all the other, you know, the real rich kids had tuck and roll on all their car. So I told her, I said, you know, they all go to Mexico or somewhere and have this tuck and roll, you know, and they pleat it. And so I told Mom, and she says, well, let's get a picture of it and see if we can. So I got her a picture of it. And then she said, well, I don't think that's nothing we can't handle. And my 51 Ford had tuck and roll upholstery in it. Beautiful. White and blue and all. Oh man, it was gorgeous.
I still remember you could see the road going under your feet though. When you
That's because I was still rebuilding my ship. My old
ship. But we were sitting on some nice cushions.
But it was the fastest car on the West Coast.
It took corners really well too.
You know,
Tickets to prove it.
as a little girl, and watching Papa and Grandma and their longevity of their marriage, I had a little bit of a disillusionment when my marriage fell apart, because my whole life was like, I'm gonna be married 70 some years, and I'm gonna, you know, all this stuff, and you know, and then I'm just actually having this thought right now that she had tough stuff in her life, really hard stuff.
Hard.
And the reason, you know, like there was some people at work that were saying, I just don't know what I'm gonna do on Saturday. I'm so bored. They like coming to work, which is, I mean, that's fine. And I'm like, really? Like, I don't get that because of the project she always had going. But I think that she always saw the needs around her, and she made it fun. She loved through it. And I think that sometimes, you know, you can lose hope when you see something that you want, like, you know, never getting divorced or whatever it is. But then when you think about the things that she had to conquer to get through her whole life, the depression and the Oregon Trail and pure, you know, illness in the family and just hard births even. I mean, it's not like, I don't know, she's an inspiration. Pure inspiration.
Do you know, Lloyd, that when they sent me home from the hospital and then a few days Mother tried to raise my legs to change my pants and realized she thought my hips were dislocated, tried to figure out if that boy had dropped me or if Bud had dropped me. I was only a few days old. They took me back and they gave her the scientific name for polio, which she did not know what that was. But they gave her drops, which probably were pain pills, actually pain to keep, that said every 2 hours you have to give, you'll have to give this baby a drop. And Mother said she set the alarm, and every 2 hours she carried me on a breadboard, and she never raised my legs. She just pulled the diaper up under me and then would just pull it out. And she cared for me all those weeks. And when I got some better and she went back to the doctor said, oh, the polio baby's still alive. Yeah. He did not expect me to live. He assumed it would go into my lungs and I would die. But because of her constant caring for me the way she did, her constant taking care of me, I survived. That's, you know, that dedication of day and night. Because he was like, oh, he did not think that I would be coming back.
Good.
And she hadn't known that that's what I had, right? She didn't understand what I had. She only knew she had to take, you know, to take care of me. So her dedication to do what she needed to do was amazing for all of us.
Because of her, I now have a great big dog.
Exactly.
That's right.
That's so
And it's because of her that I now have an Aiden.
That's right.
Because if she hadn't come along, there would be no Mark. There were no Mark, there'd be no Aiden.
That's right.
Probably because of Grandma's hardships that she had been through. And you guys may know her as differently, the children, because obviously you were raised with her when she was younger. But from my end, I actually don't remember Grandma ever blowing up on me once. I remember Pap plenty of times, and Grandma and I deserved every bit of it. And I tried hard to get Grandma to blow up at me, and she never did. But that was one of the things, though, one of the things that I want more of in my life. One of the lessons I take from her in the later end of her life is people be running around, everybody, not just people, everybody be running around with their head, like chickens with their heads cut off, freaking out about something. And Grandma was calm and to a point and real quick and saw through all of the distraction and everything bubbling and all the emotion, and she was very cool like a cucumber at dealing with what needed to be dealt with. At least that's the way that I remember seeing her in these situations. Because we have a very loud, freak-outish family. When things start happening, everybody starts freaking out, and she realized that didn't help anything. She's just cutting right through it. That was something that I really want. What I try to take from her, and something that in our family, in this huge family, that's something that she maintained above everybody. And I like to think of this family like a tree. And when I think about all the gatherings that we've had when I was younger, all the people, I miss that. But when the tree in the forest dies, and the tree falls, it becomes not death, but nourishment for all of the seedlings and everything else that's around it. It becomes entirely new life. And so all of these little trees are growing now, and all these families that are going to have these memories of these great get-togethers and stuff, until their brothers and sisters start to have families and start. But we got to remember that, this is all the same food, the same tree, same forest. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's incredible.
I like to compare her to a redwood. Could we do that? Because when it falls, it has multiple trees coming up out of the root.
And it's had trees growing in its canopy for years already.
Yes.
All of these trees, nurturing them. It's a good comparison.
Well, it's nice when you grow older. I experienced this when Bob and I left Alamogordo on our retirement cruise in the motorhome, and when we got to Michael's house in South Carolina, I must say I did feel old, because he is walking around with me, showing me off, and this is the one that took care of me when I was a baby. And telling about, and she was a good-looking woman. She was so beautiful, and I said, I still am. But it was just kind of a generation thing that, Michael is a man. And in my mind, and the same thing when I got to Jeff's and visiting Katie Joe up in Portland and Nathan and everything, and it's like, this is so cool. These are grown-up adults now. But it just really made you feel special that they still thought of me as special when they were
Well, when you come and see me this summer, I'm going to show you
Oh,
off
I've
too.
been to your house and I had fun and I'm coming back.